The holographic projection flickered to life in the center of the United Earth Alliance's war room, casting an eerie blue glow across the faces of the assembled officers. Kirsten Rodriguez, humanity's chief diplomatic envoy, stood with her arms crossed, her jaw set in a hard line as the image of the Galactic Council's supreme arbitrator materialized before them. The arbitrator, a towering creature with crystalline skin and four eyes that gleamed with calculated arrogance, spoke in the universal tongue. Humans of Earth, the Galactic Council has deliberated on your recent petition for trade routes through the Andromeda Passage. We have decided to grant your request. Alexander Chun, the Alliance's military commander, leaned forward in his seat. Something in the arbitrator's tone set off every alarm in his tactical mind. That's unexpectedly generous, he muttered to Kirsten. The arbitrator's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. However, there is a price. Your species must surrender 70% of all mining operations in the Sol system to Council oversight. Additionally, you will provide 10 million humans annually for labor assignments across Council territories. Finally, Earth's military fleet will be reduced to defensive capabilities only, with all offensive weaponry surrendered to Council control. The room fell silent. Kirsten's eyes narrowed to dangerous slits. You're demanding we become slaves, she said, her voice cold and steady. You're asking us to strip our own solar system and hand over our citizens like cattle. The arbitrator's crystalline features remained impassive. We are offering you a place in galactic civilization. The alternative is isolation. No trade, no technology exchange, no protection from the hostile species that inhabit the outer rims. Your choice is simple: comply or be left to the void. Alexander stood slowly, his hand resting on the edge of the conference table. He'd fought in 3 colonial wars and survived first contact with 2 aggressive alien species. He'd seen good soldiers die in the black, their bodies floating in the silence of space. But he'd never felt the cold fury that gripped him now. How long do we have to consider your generous offer? Kirsten asked, though everyone in the room could hear the steel beneath her words. 72 Earth hours, the arbitrator replied. The Council expects your acceptance transmission by then. The hologram vanished, leaving the war room in stark silence. Alexander turned to Kirsten. They think we're desperate. They think because we're new to the galactic stage, we'll roll over. They're about to learn otherwise, Kirsten said quietly. Get me a direct line to every human colony, every fleet commander, and every ambassador we have off-world. And Alexander, yes, prepare the fleet. All of it. Over the next 72 hours, the Galactic Council's monitoring stations detected unusual activity throughout human-controlled space. Ships that had been scattered across dozens of systems began converging on rally points. Communication channels blazed with encrypted traffic. The Council's analysts noted it with mild curiosity but little concern. What could one primitive species possibly do against the combined might of 47 advanced civilizations? When the 72-hour deadline arrived, the arbitrator reconvened the Council in their grand chamber on the Nexus Station Epsilon Prime. Representatives from dozens of species filled the amphitheater, their various forms of laughter and conversation creating a cacophony of alien sounds. The arbitrator activated the communication link, expecting to see Kirsten's defeated face, ready to accept their terms. Instead, the hologram showed something that made every being in the chamber fall silent. Kirsten stood on the bridge of the UEA flagship Indomitable, with Alexander beside her in full military dress. Behind them, through the massive view screen, hung the assembled might of humanity's fleet. Thousands of ships, from massive dreadnoughts to swift corvettes, arranged in perfect formation. But that wasn't what silenced the Council. Floating in space around the fleet were 9 massive cylindrical structures, each the size of a small moon. The Council's scientific officers immediately recognized the energy signatures, stellar convergence weapons, capable of channeling and focusing a star's energy into a directed beam. Humanity had somehow constructed planet-killer weapons in secret. Greetings, Arbitrator, Kirsten said, her voice calm and pleasant. We've considered your offer. Here is humanity's response. She paused, letting the image of the fleet and its terrible weapons sink in. The human race does not kneel. Not to you, not to anyone. We've spent our entire history fighting for our freedom, against tyrants, against oppression, against those who would make us less than what we are. Did you really think we'd surrender it now, to alien bureaucrats playing at empire? Alexander stepped forward. You asked us to reduce our fleet. Instead, every human colony has tripled production. You demanded our mining operations. We've claimed 6 new asteroid belts in the last month alone. You wanted our people as laborers. We're offering you something else instead. A choice, Kirsten continued. Leave us alone. Grant us equal trade rights without conditions. Or, she gestured to the weapons behind her. We demonstrate exactly why every species in our history that underestimated human resolve ended up in our history books as a cautionary tale. The arbitrator's crystalline skin had lost its luster. You would threaten the entire council? You would start a war you cannot win. No, Alexander said flatly. You tried to extort us. We're simply explaining the consequences of that mistake. And as for winning, he smiled without humor. Arbitrator, humanity has been at war with someone or something since we climbed down from the trees. We've fought on every continent of our world, in our oceans, in our skies, and now in the stars. War isn't something we're good at. It's what we are. Kirsten's expression softened slightly. But we're not unreasonable. Treat us as equals, and we'll be the best trading partners and allies you've ever had. Try to subjugate us, and you'll learn why the word human should terrify you more than any monster in the dark. The transmission ended in the council chamber. The arbitrator looked at the assembled representatives. For the first time in the council's 1,000-year history, they voted unanimously. Within an hour, an official treaty was transmitted to Earth, granting humanity full membership status with no conditions. The humans had been right about one thing. Their response had indeed sent shockwaves through the galaxy. But not just shockwaves of fear, also of respect. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they'd done it on their own terms.